I feel I must say that I'm talking to people all over the world. The emails and the texts are extraordinary. And so many of you keep asking what is the latest as I see it in America. As you know, many in politics and the media, sensing defeat for Trump, have run away at 100 miles an hour. You keep writing, and I feel I must do my best to tell you where I think things are. So firstly, by way of a question, why has there been virtually no publicity for the brief interview I'm about to play? The chairman of the Federal Electoral Commission in America is a fellow called Trey Traynor. The Federal Electoral Commission is the government body that enforces campaign finance laws. But as you would know, being involved in investigations of fraud in campaign finance law allows you to get a reading on voter fraud in general. Here is Trey Traynor on NewsMax, which is really the new Fox News, being interviewed. I repeat, Trey Traynor is the official head honcho of the American Federal Electoral Commission.
Trey, thanks so much for joining me here. I'll start with this. What is your reaction to what's happening in Pennsylvania? Do you believe, or do you know, are observers able to watch the ballots being counted, as Pam Bondi pushed back on?
Well, based upon what I know, observers have not been allowed into the polling locations in a meaningful way as required by the court order that the Trump campaign received. When they have been allowed in, the goalpost has been moved. They were supposed to be allowed within 6 feet of the ballots, and they have not been allowed that meaningful access. And our whole political system is based upon transparency to avoid the appearance of corruption. And that's what we do at the FEC every day. And now we're seeing this play out in Pennsylvania and other states where there's not transparency in this election.
Trey, as we move forward in modern times, everyone has a cell phone. There's video just about everywhere. You could see just about everything. And the video we just showed earlier appears to show someone filling out the ballot at the table. There's so many videos out there. And again, we have to confirm all this stuff. But do you believe there is voter fraud out there, specifically in Pennsylvania and other states that are weighing heavily in on this election?
I do believe that there's voter fraud taking place in these places. Otherwise, they would allow the observers to go in. When you have claims of, 10,000 people who don't live in the state of Nevada having voted in Nevada, you have the video showing where people are, they're either duplicating a spoiled ballot right there, or they're in the process of just marking a ballot that came in blank. For a voter. That's a process that needs to be observed by election observers. State law allows those observers to be in there, and if they're not, then the law is not being followed, making this an illegitimate election.
Well, there you are. There is this fellow admitting that the Trump campaign won a court order in Pennsylvania to allow the Trump campaign to send observers to watch ballot counting in Pennsylvania, but his words, quote, ballot watchers have not been allowed into the polling locations in a meaningful way. In other words, the workers in Philadelphia just ignored the court order and continued to block the observers' right to observe. Chairman Traynor points out that, quote, when observers have been permitted to watch, the goalpost has been moved away from what is required by the court order, unquote. And as he said, you heard him there, if you're looking for transparency, his words, quote, they have not been allowed meaningful access, unquote. There has not been transparency, he said, in the election. And he concludes that, his words, if the law is not being followed, then it is an illegitimate election, unquote. That was the chairman of the American Federal Election Commission, Trey Traynor. Now, I don't pretend to know why Donald Trump has been silent, but people like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, whom you heard on Monday night, are not stupid. Sidney Powell is one of the leading appellate lawyers in America. Let me just have a stab at what they might be doing. What has not received any publicity is that on September 12, 2018, President Trump signed into existence an executive order. You can check it out for yourself at whitehouse.gov. It's entitled, and I quote, Executive Order on Imposing Certain Sanctions in the Event of Foreign Interference in a United States Election, unquote. In that executive order, which no one seems to have covered since the day it was signed, President Trump declares a national emergency that is still in play. This election was conducted under a state of emergency, and it asserts that people and organisations located outside the United States are known to be able to, quote, interfere in or undermine public confidence in United States elections, including through the unauthorised accessing of election and campaign infrastructure, unquote. Now, envisage it could be asserted that outfits like CNN and the New York Times could be caught up under this emergency declaration of foreign interference in US elections, aided by complicit cooperation on US soil. Why is this relevant? Well, again, listen to what Sidney Powell said on Monday.
This is a massive election fraud, and I'm very concerned it involved not only Dominion and its Smartmatic software, but that the software essentially was used by other election machines also. It's the software that was the problem. Even their own manual explains how votes can be wiped away. They can it's like drag and drop Trump votes to a separate folder and then delete that folder.
Now, note that she mentioned Dominion. This is the point. It's a Canadian company, foreign-owned, which under the presidential order makes Dominion election theft a foreign interference issue. That's the software that Sidney Powell's talking about. Earlier in that interview, Sidney Powell indicated that many states had been advised against using Dominion voting systems. Another voting company is Citl. It's operated in Spain. I might add it filed for bankruptcy in May and was declared bankrupt in June. You've heard Sidney Powell talk about so much voter fraud, it was like coming out of a fire hose. Experts are asking why the sensitive job of counting votes was outsourced to a foreign company. And how could a bankrupt Spanish company count American votes in Spain? There has to be a reason why the chairman of the Federal Electoral Commission, Trey Traynor, has said that even if observers were not permitted to watch what we'd call scrutineers, the election is, his word, illegitimate. Now, he's speaking specifically about Pennsylvania, which leads to the further question, why weren't they allowed to observe? But the Trump executive order gives the American Department of Justice power to seize all assets of entities that have, quote, directly or indirectly engaged in, sponsored, concealed, or otherwise been complicit in foreign interference in a United States election, unquote. Now, remember, Sidney Powell is saying that this was software designed to rig elections, her words, on purpose, her words, calculated, her word. And she was asked, could she prove this? To which she replied,
well, let me put it this way. First of all, I never say anything I can't prove.
Wonderful. I never say anything I can't prove. That's one of America's leading appellate lawyers. The Trump executive order about rigging elections, which he signed into existence on September 12, 2018, means clearly that the net can be cast very wide. And that if what Donald Trump has called big tech and the fake news media were up to something, then I have no doubt this is what the Trump team are about. Software systems located in Canada and Spain, Sidney Powell says, quote, designed to rig elections on purpose and calculated. Further suggestions are being made that data was offshored to servers located in Germany and possibly Serbia, foreign countries. That doesn't even include China or Venezuela. The allegations which have to be proven are that these foreign entities had roles in running influence operations to produce an election outcome in favour of Mr. Biden. I suspect the Trump team is in the process of gathering irrefutable evidence of criminal collusion. Under the executive order of 2018, the government, still headed by Trump, has the power to arrest and seize the assets of any organisation or individual who attempted to alter the result of the 2020 election. Now, I've been saying for some time, it'll be a brave person who is prepared to bet even now against Donald Trump. What do you think? Email me from America, Alan at skynews.com.au, or the text line 0414 000 844.